Well, hello and welcome to the Alpha Anywhere demo and Q&A webcast for Wednesday, November 7th, 2018. My name is Dave McCormick. I'm VP of Product Management here at Alpha Software, and I am pleased to be joined by Dion McCormick, no relation, who is our lead solutions engineer here at Alpha. Today, Dion is going to be going over the latest release, which hit this morning. Very exciting, and we're going to be covering that some this week and also some next week. So I think we're going to have a great session. So let's get started. Hello, Dion. Are you there?
Yes, sir. How is everybody doing today?
I'm doing well, man. Thanks. Let me go ahead and make you the presenter. And I will let you know when I can see your screen. And there it is.
Yeah, so we're very, very excited. And this is going to be a fun little session today, just kind of a preview of what you'll see very soon. The big exciting news is we have a new version of Alpha Anywhere available. It is currently now on the release page. And actually within your, you might have gotten a notification within your development environment. If you open that up, it will update you there. But we're very, very excited about it. There's an enormous amount of content on this one. It's just staggering. And we're quickly putting all that together into a format that we can provide for you. But I wanted to show you some of the highlights today. So I'm going to take a few minutes just to kind of show a few of the cool new features, some of the things I find very exciting, although there's a very broad range of capabilities built into this release. And just we'll have a lot of fun. And as Dave mentioned, we want your questions. So make sure to take time to go into your GoToWebinar control panel, go into the questions section, and then go ahead and put your questions in there, and Dave will be monitoring that as we go through our process here. As we have mentioned, the team is very, very busy. We covered this a couple weeks ago, but at the Developers Convention 2018, the development team put out a roadmap, and this really has been segmented into four major areas. One is client side, which is your UX builder, and all the controls and capabilities associated with that. In fact, we're going to be kind of focusing on that, and that's a lot of the content of this release is on that client side capability. And so we're going to give you, again, a few previews of some of the cool ones there, and then we'll have a much greater deep dive into everything that's in this latest release next week. We're very excited about that. But behind the scenes, and I just wanted to remind everybody, is that there's a huge amount of work not only being done on the user experience, the UX builder, because that's obviously what people see. So a lot of what we want to do is make that the most powerful, the nicest looking, the easiest to create and generate of any technology on the marketplace. Along with that, though, on the server side, there's a lot of work that's going behind the scenes, and that you'll start seeing coming out later this year. And there is some really significant enhancements to the server side, really to increase performance, to unlock a lot of capabilities, and overall just make your life easier and your systems more powerful. And one thing that's cool is there's a, and I mentioned this briefly, but there's sort of a additive effect, meaning that both Alpha Cloud and Transform are built on top of Alpha Anywhere. They're both using Alpha Anywhere as a core component of that. So both of those separate products gain huge benefits when work is done on Alpha Anywhere, especially Transform. Transform has an enormous amount of new features that are going into it. If you're not joining us for Transform Tuesdays, make sure to send your request to guides@alphasoftware.com. So as Alpha Anywhere improves, these other products improve, and you'll start to see more and more functionality and capability. And Dave is leading that team. He's doing an amazing job of really showing how you can take Transform from a data collection capability and turn it into more of a full-blown application building development environment, which is really where we're going and where it's very, very exciting from there. So with that, we're going to focus today on some of the cool new features of the UX builder and some new things that were added into it. And again, we're just kind of the tip of the iceberg as far as what I'm going to show today. And we have a very fun and exciting plan for you next week to go into a much deeper dive. So make sure to mark on your calendar, block out your time, because that's going to be just an incredible, incredible presentation next week. So I'm going to jump into my development environment, and I'm here inside the Alpha development environment. I have downloaded the latest version of Alpha. Now I have multiple projects going on, And actually, this was one of the interesting questions someone had asked a while back. So I'm going to kind of kill a question at the same time of talking about these new features. So I have certain projects that require certain levels of alpha. Now, I can, if I would like, set up multiple versions of the development environment on a single development machine. That's doable. In fact, you can also do with that with the Alpha server, is set it up on the Alpha server. Although the Alpha Cloud makes your life easier because it's all automatic for you. But what I do, because I kind of want to maintain more control, and I'm on a Mac here. I'm going to go up here. I've actually got two virtual machines. So I have my primary virtual machine, which I use day to day. It has a certain version of Alpha. So I'll go in here and I'll show this is the Alpha Anywhere version that I'm using at this point in time. And that's dictated by my environment, my status, and what I'm working on, things like that. So I got to be careful. I can't willy-nilly install pre-releases or other things because it may disrupt what I'm doing with other people. So the way I handle it is I have a different virtual machine, and this virtual machine, I've set it all up, and it has a different version of Alpha Anywhere. In fact, it has the current release that was released yesterday, this morning. So this allows me complete comfort to be able to do everything I need to do without worrying about mucking up my existing projects and things like that. And I find, with the horsepower of modern laptops, of desktops, virtual machines are becoming really an indispensable piece of the puzzle. In fact, I have multiple ones that I use for different purposes. So I would definitely, if you're not using that methodology, definitely check into maybe using a virtual machine technology to be able to set up environments that you can control. And the great thing about that is, let's say you have, and I've seen this in my past when I was doing consulting, was I have a certain client, they may be on a release from a year ago and they're fine. They don't want to make any changes. It's all maintenance level. And you want to just have everything set up for that. Well, you want to be careful that if you install a new version of Alpha, you can't republish to that environment. So what I do is I'll actually almost create a virtual machine per project, per client, where I have everything associated with that so I can protect my client's environment. And also, more importantly, is I have complete control over the environment. I don't have to worry about something stepping on something else. So I just wanted to share that that is one methodology you can use to be able to support multiple versions of Alpha Anywhere. Now, as I mentioned, one of the cool, powerful capabilities is that if you're using Alpha Cloud, and let me go ahead and open up my, let's see, I think I don't have it here. Yeah. If you use Alpha Cloud, the cool thing about Alpha Cloud is your ability to be able to publish, and while you publish, you can dictate what Alpha Cloud should use for that application, for that deployment, as a specific version of Alpha. So that's another nice feature of Alpha Cloud, is that let's say you are going to do a test with a new version of Alpha, you can set up in your virtual machine and a new version of Alpha, and then set up a publishing profile onto Alpha Cloud and say, guess what? When I publish it, it's going to be a completely different setup on the cloud with a different version of Alpha, and it won't affect what you already published. So the Alpha Cloud has a nice sort of DevOps, really good and valuable for, especially when you're doing testing and validation and other things like that, because you can control the environment and you can pick and choose what's being deployed. So I just wanted to kind of share that real quick.
Excellent. So
yes,
quite,
please.
we already have questions related to
Yeah.
what you've been talking about. So I thought I'd just interrupt you if you don't mind.
Yes, please do. That's
Fantastic. All right. So the first question people ask is, okay, well, first of all, what are you using for setting up your different virtual machines? Are you using VMware? Are you using Parallels? Are you using something else?
In my case, I'm using Parallels Desktop. So I'm on a Mac environment, so I'm using a Mac laptop, and then I use the Parallels Desktop program from Parallels. It's the Mac version to set up my virtual machines.
Okay,
and
but on
so
a PC, you could use VMware or something similar to that, I believe.
Yep,
Right.
and I think even Parallels has a version.
Oh, they might
of
have
it
a PC version as well. Okay,
Yep,
cool.
exactly.
Okay.
And some people will actually set up their machines to boot multi, but I think virtual machines are handy because I can have like 3 or 4 of them open at one time and just go, okay, I'm on this one.
Yep.
Now I'm working on this one, and there's no lag time, and it just makes my life a lot easier. And then when I'm not using one, I can go up here, and this just happens to be here. I can suspend this And so I'll show you. I'll suspend this virtual machine. It
Mhm.
basically closes it up, and now it's in a so it's not taking any resources. I can even close it out. And now when I'm ready to use that once again, I can go in here and say, oh, I need to relaunch it. I relaunch it, it's going to load it up, and I'm right where I stopped. And in fact, there's some cool features in virtual machines that are really fun, is you can create like snapshots of them. So let's say I want to install a new version. I don't know what's going on. I can actually say, create a snapshot of my virtual machine, and then go ahead and do my stuff I want to do, installations, etc. And then if I don't like that, I can just discard the snapshot and go back to where I was. So there's some really powerful features of virtual machines. And most developers now, that's a primary tool they use because they can spawn test environments. In fact, one thing I have heard about and I haven't played with is I could create a virtual machine on here that is a server only, sort of like a server virtual machine that it's gonna, I'm gonna set up like the alpha server on it and things like that, and then they can talk to each other. So a lot of really fun things you can do with. Good question.
Very cool. The second thing has to do with licensing. Will you need to have multiple licenses to run multiple versions of Alpha on
And
your
that I'm gonna have to defer. That's a good question.
It's easy when you work for Alpha and you can just keep getting licenses. So that's
Yeah, I
that's
know.
actually a great question. I mean, normally when we sell multiple licenses, the idea is that it will be for multiple developers. In fact, a developer's license can be installed on 2 machines. So we're thinking if you have a notebook computer and a desktop computer, you don't need 2 licenses. You're just one person. You're only going to be using it one at one
Yes.
time. So I guess the thing is, if you're interested in doing this, just send over an email to guides@alphasoftware.com, and let's see what we can do, because I don't see any reason why we couldn't, supply you at basically the same cost a license that would let you do. Yeah, I mean, if
Yeah,
it's just you're just running it on that same machine. That kind of seems like it's kind of what we intended. So
yeah, it's kind of a per seat.
yeah, but so yeah,
We
so
just don't want
someone did
someone
bring up
taking
the
a single
license issue, and
license.
I'm like, okay, that's actually a fair point. So if you're interested,
Yeah.
send over an email to guides. Let's see if we can come up with an answer to that.
Dynamite, dynamite.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. That kind of went into a little bit, but we get a lot of questions about this. And what you're going to find out, especially if you're an independent developer, you're going to have multiple clients, and those clients are going to essentially have different sort of environments at different times. Meaning, again, I have, I've had clients that they haven't touched their stuff in 2 years because it works. They don't need any changes. They may need a little bug fix or a little like control. They don't want to upgrade. They don't want to go through all that. Everything's fine. That this is a really effective way to handle it, because then when you go back in, you don't have to worry about, did I publish to the right location? Did I use the right one? It just gets rid of some of that doubt, and you get a more solid environment. Really fun stuff there. So let's dive into some of the new features. First, I'd like to go here and show you, if you go to the Alpha Anywhere updates, is this still showing this one? Where is it? There it is. Yeah, I just had to refresh it. You'll see that the Alpha Anywhere update, I'll go ahead and copy this, put it in the chat window. Okay. This has the latest download. You can do a patch where you do the update, or you can do the full download, whichever works one you like. What's interesting is, and I want to kind of show this because this was something I found out a little while ago, is that whenever I would do that, I would download everything and save it, because I was always like, well, if I ever need to come back to this version, I need to kind of have that available. But the team has taken the next step where all of the previous versions are now sort of stored historically. So we have all these patches available online right here. So you don't have to worry about, you can go, oh, you know what, I need to go back to this particular build, then this is available. So just wanted to show you, is on the Alpha Anywhere updates page, there's not only the most current here, but you can access previous released versions, and you can see that here are all the different previous release versions here, and you can go through all those pieces here. So that's handy. Also, the release notes are here. We can go, and I'll go ahead and copy those and put those in here also from there. So the release notes are there. Note that when you're on the release notes page, and I don't know if these are fully updated with all the latest release functionality, not sure, but you can always go to this, and you'll notice right here under the pre-release build, there is the pre-release notes, and you can click on it here, and this takes you into the pre-release notes, which not only can allow you to download the pre-release, but then this will have the most current information available. So if for whatever reason the updates aren't, if the release notes aren't updated, you can always dump into the pre-release notes, and those are done with every pre-release. So there. And then meanwhile in the background, oh good, the release notes are current. Sarah's letting me know. And in the meantime, Sarah is doing an amazing job. She has so much on her hands, given the quantity of stuff that's come in, to update our release notes. And oh, ironically, the pre-release notes are not current at the moment. She's letting me know. So use both of them, okay? And but she's doing a phenomenal job. And in fact, if we go to our documentation section right here, you'll see at the very home of documentation.alphasoftware.com, which is the place to go. You'll see we have a release notes area right here. And in here, this is where all of the updated release notes will go in. And she's working very feverishly getting all that up to date and in there. And what I really like, and I really appreciate what Sarah has done, is that she's consolidated all of the previous release notes, including, which I thought was really cool, the old V11, V10 videos. And if you haven't gone in and watched these, if you're, I'll tell you, it's like Netflix for alpha, and we don't even charge you a monthly fee to go watch these videos. This is that great. But on here are a whole bunch of really great videos and examples of features that came out in V11 but are very relevant today, and things I use day in, day out. And so there's a lot of content in here. And again, I want to give kudos to Sarah, because this stuff used to be everywhere. We used to have like 5 or 6 different documentation sites, 5 or 6 libraries of videos. She has done a phenomenal job of bringing all this together. And all of this is accessible for you and online at any time. And there's just some great stuff about, if you're working with some grids, how to do some group headings. And it's fairly, like using the advanced tab control and, the map control. You want to do some map control pieces on grids and other pieces. And again, this is V11 before V12, but all of that is there. And I want to highly recommend, if you have a chance, go through and review this, because a lot of that is very relevant to building solutions now, and you'll like it. Oh, and Sarah has gone ahead and added a link in your chat window. You can jump in and go from there. So with that, with no further ado, we'll go in here. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was style. Style is, it's style. We're talking beauty, we're talking effective user interfaces, and we're talking about something the team is working very, very hard. If I go, I have here a UX control, and for people who are new, UX control is your basic form control, but it's the heart of mobile applications and now desktop applications. So I'm going to go here to properties, and I'm going to go into the style name. So I'm setting the style name for this UX. And you're going to see one thing right out of the gate. We have a whole bunch of new styles that are available. Amber, aqua, blue 2, blue gray. There's all these here, and they're all based on a core alpha style here. But what is really nice is a lot of work has gone in here to improve and make these much more just better. They're much, much better. So let's go ahead and show you an example. I've got aqua or alpha amber. So I'm going to go ahead and show you this UX here and show you what it looks like. So as you can see, and I haven't cleaned it up, but you'll see a couple things. The fonts are nicer. The fonts actually in the fields are nicer. There's bolder pieces here. And you'll see, and I'm going to dive in this a little bit more, there's a lot more control over like the buttons and stuff. And watch when I go over the button, you'll see there's some nice little hover effects. In fact, when I exit out of the button, you'll notice there's like a fade effect that goes from there to there. And notice this button here, it has a nice kind of rounded element. Check this button out, it's kind of a little smaller button here. So built into these styles are what are called sub-themes. And those sub-themes are really nice. So let's go ahead and do something. I'm gonna clean this up real quick. And let me go ahead and grab all these, and actually let me do this. I want to make these a little wider, so I'm going to make the width of it 50% so we can see what they look like a little bit. And I'll use my handy dandy copy this to go here. Oops, hit the wrong button. Right here. Go ahead and copy that here. There we go. And so I'll go back in and show you what it looks like real quick. I just made the width of each of these controls 50% so that easier to see what's going on. Okay, so you can see the font looks a little nicer. So I'm going to go back into design. I'm going to go to properties here, And let's pick another one. Let's say blue 2. I wonder what blue 2 looks like. And we can go ahead and working preview and quickly see what blue 2 looks like. And you'll see, your buttons are now kind of a blue. We have a little nicer look here. And even your fonts and icons are looking a little nicer. So a lot of work has been into sort of enhance the basic styles that are available. Now, the other thing that's really powerful with this, which is super important, is that I'm going to go over here to controls, and you'll notice I have 3 buttons up here. Button 1, button 2, button 3. And that corresponds to, when I do the preview here, to these buttons up here. So you'll notice I have kind of a square button, I have a little small button, I have a button 3 here. Well, the nice thing is I didn't have to go out and find any CSS. This is now built in. So I'll go to this button number 1. And on the right-hand side, you'll see there is a button appearance. And in there, there's something that's sub-theme. And a sub-theme is basically a set of CSS that will override that button. And we've included a bunch, but this is a technique that you can use to add your own sub-themes if you so choose. So I'm going to click on here. And as you can see, before we only had a couple, now we have a bunch of sub-themes. And you can actually see a visual representation of what they look like. So you can see kind of a subtle, you can see an icon oriented. You can see a little smaller one here. Now you can see you have different, like this one's kind of used a raised effect here. And these are all sub-themes. Now we have these circle buttons that are available here. And so I can say, for instance, I'm going to use circle raised. And I'm going to change that button to use this theme right here. Now that I've done that, I can go into working preview. And you'll see my button. I'd have to change my text because it's small, but now I have a nice looking little button. And you'll notice also, and this is going to be probably hard to see on the GoToMeeting, but when I click here, there's kind of like a radial effect in the button, meaning when you click on it, there's a little animation that uses CSS animation. And so what bottom line of all this is that now with nothing more than opening up your UX, applying a new style, tweaking it with maybe some sub-themes, you can make your user interface look much, much nicer, much more effective than it was before. And again, it's all by just going in and making certain selections here. If you combine this with the new expanding menu in the tabbed UI, you're going to find that you're going to have a much better sort of user interface with very little effort on your part. We're very excited about this. A lot more work is planned for this area. We want to make our interfaces look as good and as powerful as humanly possible, and you're going to see more of this as it comes along. Because we've built the basic architecture of themes and sub-themes, so now we just need to do it. Like for instance, that button right there, I'm going to change that from text only to image only, and I'm going to go into my image here, and I'm going to select an SVG icon. I'm going doing this fast, but this is our built-in. Let's say our education little hat right there. And now let's look at our working preview. Instead of text on our first button, our little round button, you can see, wow, check that out. Notice that it's white on a dark background. When I click on it, there's a little animation, maybe hard to see, but that's a beautiful button. I love that button. I want to use that button. And if I see it on anybody else's user interface, you're stealing my button. So don't steal my button. That's my button. No, but as you can see now,
can I interrupt with a question at this point?
Please do.
All right, so you've been showing off these cool styles, but the question is there a place where you can sort of see a preview of the styles before you choose one so that you don't have to just do by trial and error?
Excellent, excellent. In fact, that's a great question. I appreciate you asking me. So here's the style name, and I can go into here and I can, let's see, I can look at the tweaks here if there are any tweaks, but more importantly is I can go back to my web projects control panel. I can go to my more drop-down menu and go to the, where is it? Web style builder. This is the second item here. So let me go ahead and do that again. Went to more, web style builder. Then I can open up one of these styles. Now these are all of my system styles, so it's not going to let me edit those directly because it's going to say, hey, I'm going to make a local copy of this because we don't want you mucking up the original in case you ever have to go to it. Thus, you don't have to reinstall Alpha or do something like that. So I'll go webinar. Okay, so I'm going to create a new local style, which is a duplicate of that one there. And I got a little error, but it must be here. But you know what? I think I might have something on my particular environment. I apologize. But in here, you would be able to see and I'm not sure why that occurred, but you'll be able to see a preview of that style. So all of the buttons and other styles you may have, you're going to be able to see that. And again, you'd use that by using the, oops, let me go ahead and exit out of this. You just go into the Web Project Control Panel, Open Web Style Builder. I think it has to do with how I installed and stuff. I've been doing a lot of work on this. So
Pretty
cool.
cool. But
Yeah.
you know what would be cool though is if we had like a page which just showed you and labeled them out. Does anyone else think that that would be helpful for them? And if so, we could probably get that done.
Yes.
So just let us
that's
know.
a great idea.
So yeah, so in other words, so you see them maybe even see them in action, but at the very least have like nice screenshots of each of them being, I'm seeing a lot of yeses with exclamation points. All right, yeah, let's do that.
All right.
I'm gonna make a note of that right now, and we'll get that done.
Very cool. Now, that's been the UX. There's, again, a lot of things I'm not covering in terms of under the covers capabilities, but I want to focus on two other areas in the release that I thought were very interesting. First, the list control. As you know, the list control, first there was the grid control, and then came the list control. And I need a Morgan Freeman's voice. If I could only get Morgan Freeman to do our webinars, we would kill it. So
that would be great.
Yes.
He might be busy. We'll call him. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure he's just bored to death. So, the beauty of the list control over the grid control was by nature and by creation, it was responsive in nature. It was built for our mobile platforms. And so in terms of representation, it's much more modern, it's easier to style, it's lighter, it's faster, it's responsive, but it also encapsulates all that power of connecting to your backend database, doing offline data management, et cetera, from there. The only downside is that the grid had a very rich capability and a lot of built-in functionality. So if you wanted to do something fast and get her done, a grid was awesome. The problem was when you went to a mobile platform, you ran out of steam because a grid was not truly a responsive nature. Well, what we've seen over the last couple of years is that slowly but surely, the grid, the list control has improved and enhanced. And so I want to show you an example of what a newer grid looks like and some of the new features that are released it. So you can see it looks really nice. With the new style, I have my new style here. Check this out. Very cool, very fluid. Actually, let's go ahead and launch this in a browser real quick, just to show everybody what it looks like here. So list looks great. And it's got a refinement over the grid component just because it's a more modern and uses modern CSS. So you go ahead, dun, 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 dun. It's having to get past my ad block. So as you can see, it's got, responsive nature there. If I can expand it. Let's see. Why won't it let me expand it? There we go. There we go. So notice how it's responsive as I move it out. It handles all that nicely for me, all those pieces here. So it's really sharp and very nice, and it has nice effects. Watch as I go over. You'll see that there's kind of a hover effect. And watch when I actually click on one of these, you'll see it's almost like a shutter effect. So all these little subtleties are added to our new styles to give you a much more powerful representation. Even my control bar control up here has a nicer looking menu and all these pieces that are available. Now you'll notice also at the bottom, hey, check this out. There's some navigation buttons. So this is a paged list, meaning it's showing me 20 items at a time. Now I can go here and notice what happens. As I go, it's moving my location of my navigation button over. And all of these things are built into it. Now, what's really cool about this is that if I go into the list, to enable these things, all I needed to do was the following. I said navigation method was not fetch or auto fetch. It's now navigation button. So I enabled that. And then I said it had a navigation bar. And in here, you'll see we have all these settings. So like, for instance, you can add a page size selector. You could show an input control for current page numbers. So I'm setting these here, clicking OK, and going into working preview. And if you're familiar with grids, you're going, yeah, I do that all the time. Those are built into my grids. So now you have a page size indicator. So now we're doing 50 pages versus 100 pages. Notice how fast it is. It's lightning fast because it's all using client-side capabilities to do all this. And as you can see, all this is updating. And so for instance, let's say it's 10, I can go in here and go, let's go to page 6. And when I go to page 6 and go out of it, oh, I have to set it up, but it would point to this list and say, okay, go to page 6. So these are features that we've had in the grid forever. Now they're being added to the list control. So the list control is really maturing very rapidly. It's becoming more grid-like. More and more features of the grid are coming forward. Obviously, the list control has features the grid will never have in terms of client-side capabilities, etc. But more and more, the team is really making it easier for you to migrate some of the, because you may have been using a list control or a grid control. Now you want to kind of give it a more modern style. What we want to make it easy to do is to create a list, and for you to just to be able to kind of just create a list and use the same techniques you do for a grid. Very exciting, very fun, and you're going to enjoy it a lot. So check that out. That's a new capability in the latest release. Now there's one other real fun thing that I saw, which was super cool, and I wanted to kind of share that with you. One of the key things you'll have either on a mobile or even a desktop is a nice way to notify everybody what's going on. So I'm going to go into my control bar here, and I'm going to go to action number 4, and you'll notice that we have a traditional alert statement in action number 4. You selected action number 4. So that uses the built-in alert function from JavaScript, so available everywhere. So I'm going to go ahead and show that, and you can see, bam, okay, JavaScript alerts, HTTP local, you have selected action 4, very ugly, very kind of crude, you know, and people who work with this say, yeah, you just used an alert, you know, kind of scenario. That's nice, but not good enough. So let me show you this. I've already set it up. I'm going to go here. I'm going to select menu item number 1 and watch. Notice what happened down here. A little new message floated up and disappeared. In fact, you know what? Let me go ahead and show this in a browser, much more effective in a browser, because you'll see it in all its glory. This is so much fun. We're going to see this used a lot. This is going to be one of those killer features because it's super, super flexible, and I'll show you that for you in a moment. Okay, so there's my grid. Notice it's all responsive. I'm going to go ahead and click here and then go here. Now watch over here in the left-hand corner. You're going to see, oh, check it out. This smooth message came up, showed hello world, it's got an X, and look, it faded out. Very cool. That's what I would like to call a hobo message. No, it's called a transient message. I don't want to phrase like that.
Come on.
So I'm going to go in to my action JavaScript and show you that. So I'm going to go to my control bar, and you'll see my action number 1 is I'm running a JavaScript action called transient message. And this is a good form, is instead of putting my actual JavaScript here, I actually create a action JavaScript. So let me go ahead and show you what that looks like. So I'm going to go over here to my JavaScript actions. Here's my transient message, and I'm going to edit that. And this is just a new XBasic action JavaScript. So I can set, I'm sorry, action JavaScript. So you'll see we now have a message box drop-down style, and we also have a message box transient. It's a new one that's built into there. So let me go ahead and open this up, and so you can see, here's the message text. Obviously, there's ways to set this so it's not just fixed. Here's my position. Notice it's bottom left, but I have a whole bunch of other things. You can make it drop down. You can make it inside another message, and you could center it in the screen. You can adjust those things. Here's the duration it will show. We have some different appearances. It defaults as to what's called Google Material Design, but there are other ones. You can even create your own message kind of style. And check this out. I have a close button that I show, and I can animate it and other pieces here. So I can go in here and say, for instance, let's make this a center one. And I'm going to go ahead, and in this case, I'm not going to show the animation. Okay, so I'm going to save that. I'm going to go ahead and do a working preview. And we're going to see it. Now watch the center of the screen when I select this. Notice it showed up instantly in the middle of the screen, but still has my little exit here, and I can get out of that. And notice it fades away really nicely. Now, a couple other things, and bear with me if I screw this up, so which odds are this is going to happen here. So let me go ahead and go in here, and I'm going to turn the animation on. But one other thing that's really cool are message buttons. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to add a button and I'm going to go click after, and then I'm going to do JavaScript here. And guess what? That could be other action JavaScript to take further actions. And the style will be, and I can change the style. So I'm just going to leave that my first click event. Okay. Now I'm going to add another button and I'm going to say don't click and those pieces here. So now I have two buttons here. I can organize them as I see fit. Now let me go in here. Let's save this and do a working preview. So let's say someone does something on your user interface and you click there. Notice now I have hello world and click and don't click. And then if I click that, it then performs whatever that action JavaScript is that I've asked it to do. So this could be used for confirmation, etc. in there. And you still have the ability, you can get rid of that, can close. So for instance, maybe I don't want them to close that button on their own because I want to get something important from them. So I'll go to JavaScript actions, go into my Transient here, and I'm going to get rid of the close button. And you know what, let's play with the buttons here. Let's edit that button and location. Yeah, we'll do that here. But I can style this and all those pieces here. Let's see, oh, sub theme, and you can have sub themes that are associated with this. So you can apply other button themes and stuff like that. So now we'll go ahead and save this. So these are going to be used a lot. I'm very excited about these because it just has the, it just day and night difference in terms of what you do from a user experience. So we have our click, but I got rid of the little X market right here. And when you click it, you'll notice that it would run that action JavaScript and automatically hide this. And you notice it's a little translucent, so it looks really sharp. And so those pieces here. There's actually one other one too. Let me go ahead and create a new action JavaScript here. And I'm going to call this a drop down. And I'm going to go ahead and edit that real quick. And I'm going to pick the message box drop down style. Message stop, ba, ba, ba. Okay. So now I've got that action JavaScript here called dropdown. I'm going to go into my control bar here. I'm going to go to my second action. You notice I have menu 1, 2, 3, 4. Go to my second action. Instead of showing an alert, I'm going to get rid of that. And I'm going to insert code to run that JavaScript action. And I'm going to run that dropdown action. Notice I'm not putting the actual action JavaScript in here. I'm defining it at the UX level and putting it in here, which is really good practice. So let's have fun. And I don't know, I think this may look a little weird because it's actually inside my menu that comes out, but hey, we'll find out in a minute. So notice, check that out. So this is an alternative to like the JavaScript alert, but look at how pretty it looks. It's locked the background. You can use HTML. You can have your own buttons in here. So that transient means it comes and goes. So that's sort of like, I saved your record, or I've heard what you want and I'm doing what you want. So it's going to come on the screen and go away. This one is, no, I want to show this and then have the user take action either, and click OK. Then you'll notice I can go back into it. So it's a really good alternative to the alert for two reasons. One, it looks better. And two, you can add these actions to it to say several, but like, okay, cancel, confirm, go ahead and send the message, do whatever you need to do. So this is really slick and really nice. And that's the combination of two new features. I'll go to my JavaScript actions. The first is the new transient message. The other is called the drop-down message. And both of those are available in the news. So now you're starting to see where you can take your existing apps and really spruce them up and make them look a lot nicer with little or no extra effort and really improve what people are seeing. And again, these are all action JavaScript. You can embed them in your own JavaScript and XBasic callbacks. Like there's so much fun things you can do with it. So those are just some highlights. Those are things that I picked on. But if you go into, I think it's on this one, it's here. If you go into the pre-release notes and also the release notes, you're going to see all of these new features. And as we put in there, if you look, there we go, alpha button sub theme. Sarah's putting a bunch of links in the GoToMeeting chat window for you to check out, and including, very important, is the YouTube channel one, so you can watch videos of Selwyn showing off all these capabilities here. But I highly recommend, play with them, check them out. I think what you'll find is you can take your whole, really please your end clients and end customers by taking your apps and making them a lot better. And you can actually are getting to the point now where you can look at taking your grids and actually start to use them as lists, and definitely look at that, because you'll find that you're going to have a lot better experience for your folks there. So that is the newest release. It's out and available on the updates here. You can update them down. Again, I did it on a separate virtual machine so I could test with it and not disrupt my work I'm doing on other things there, but you can feel confident using it how you want to use it. So questions, comments, excitement.
Questions, comments, excitement, all of the above. So let's start with the questions though, shall we? So first of all, I guess actually let's start with the comments. Someone had pointed out that, the list, it would be very cool if you could do alternate row shading, but, without having to do JavaScript, if that was just like turned on as a feature. I think that would be cool. That I don't believe that is currently a feature right now in.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it does. I'd have to look into that. I don't think it is a built-in feature.
I don't think it is either. So that is going on the recommendations list. The next thing is someone else was pointing out that they're having that same issue you are with the web style builder when they're trying to look at any of the new styles. So I'm going to just go back and see if that's a bug, and I'm sure we're going to be, as is always the case, whenever we do a new release, usually within a day or two, we do another new release, because anything we didn't shake out here and didn't shake out in the pre-release, sometimes we have to do one more. So keep your eyes peeled. I have a feeling tomorrow there'll be another one coming out. Here's an interesting question. This has to do with the list control. Would it be possible to make it so that you could either freeze columns in a list control, or like move or rearrange the columns, but as a user, like you're looking at a list and I want the field on the right to all of a sudden be over on the left?
Yeah. Like so at this time, I don't know of any way to make it fully dynamic. Yeah. But I was about to show this. You can use what are called multiple layouts. And what multiple layouts allow you is that you can create different layouts and then dynamically switch between them. And the classic use of that is auto selecting on orientation change. So maybe you have a list layout that is like a phone kind of structure for when you're on a portrait, but when you go horizontal, you get extra horizontal space. You could add 2 or 3 rows into it. And so that's what the classic of multiples. But here's the cool thing. You can create your own multiple layouts. So you can see I have layout number 1, which is my default layout. I'm going to add a new layout. I'm going to call this layout 2. And it's going to be a freeform, but it could be Kanban. So,
so you can do a mixture. Really interesting.
Yeah. So let me go ahead and go to multiple layouts. I'll go to layout number 2. Notice I selected the layout here. This is the default one. Here's what it looks like. I go back to multiple layouts. I click layout number 2. I go here, and I'm just going to put in oh no, yeah, there must be something up with so I'll just go ahead and we'll make this other layout a traditional layout.
And it looks like you can also, just at the bottom there, you can choose the layout from there as well.
Yes, that's true. Yeah. So I'll just go ahead and add these 3 things in there. So now I have 2 layouts that are available in this there. Now what I can do is I'm going to cheat here and just put a button up here. And I'm going to go into that button and I'm going to add a new JavaScript that's going to be change layout. So I'm going to go to my list control actions here. So I want to take action on that list. The action I would like to do is set active layout. It's about halfway down. It's probably hard to see out there, but it's called set active layout. And then you pick the list you want to operate on, and then you say, okay, I want layout number 2. So now, and by the way, this is just that little piece of JavaScript. So, I'm using action JavaScript, but you're basically just saying select the current layout to be layout number 2. Okay, so we'll go ahead and save this, and let's give this a run. So by default, it's going to load up the default layout, my first original one. You can choose which one's defaulted. But now watch when I click button, check that out. Instantaneously, I have my second layout come out. Let me go ahead and do that again because it happens so darn fast. So this allows you to create multiple layouts and then have them triggered either by the user or by doing that. And I've had a couple questions, like people want to say, you know what, I want to be able to say, like, I only want to show this year's data. So you would show maybe a couple columns of this year's data versus next year. This button could be like a checkbox or things like that. But watch when I click the button here, you'll notice that the layout changed immediately, and it's just instantaneous. It's really cool. And again, if you do that on orientation change, then you could say, okay, only show like 2 or 3 columns in vertical, and then horizontal show 5 or 6. And again, the system will do that for you automatically. But you can control it using this button technology to set up your own layouts. And that's called, oops, I keep hitting the wrong stuff. It is called under list properties, you can go down to the list properties, and where is multiple layouts? There you go. Has multiple layouts with that auto select if you so choose to say which orientation you're on. So there's a lot of buried capability in there you can use. Now, as far as the user changing the layout on the fly, there's no real built-in capability on there. But here's the deal. The list control is completely programmatically changeable. I mean, basically, there are JavaScript commands that allow you to do anything. So behind there, you could create a button with some JavaScript that tells the list control to show and hide columns and do things like that. So there are ways you can kind of create your own sort of, like you could put a list of rows on top, and as they click that list of rows, it would then emit to the list saying show or hide these rows. And I've done that with a grid component where someone wants a series of checkboxes, and based on what those checkboxes are, the list control would show whatever. You can do the same kind of thing with a list. So you may not be able to do the classic, like I can understand where people would maybe want to be able to go to the, go into my list here and then right click on this and say, but by the way, all that is possible. You could, I guess, trap a right click event and say hide and show a message. So the sky's the limit. It's completely programmatic or programmable from that standpoint. But as far as something built in, I gotta say at this point, no. But you can use the multi-layout as a quick and dirty way to have multiple layouts the users can select from. And as you can see there, I don't have to have like multiple UXs. I don't have to have multiple lists. I can use one list and have that feature available in it. Mainly used on mobile stuff to kind of optimize mobile. Like if I'm on a tablet, I can say, oh, let's use this layout. In fact, let me show you that real quick. So if I go here to properties and I go to responsive layout settings, and I've kind of talked about this before. If people who haven't heard on it, bear with me. The idea behind responsive layout settings is very neat. What it does is that allows you to sort of look at what environment you're on. So let me go ahead and go on here, and I'm going to add, and it brings up a set of rules. So I'm going to add a rule, and I'm going to go like mobile, and then I can say, for instance, if the device is a tablet, is it an iPhone, is it an iPad, etc. Is it even this screen width or this screen height, kind of things from that standpoint. So then once you've selected that rule, then you'll notice down here there are a set of actions. So I can set an action here that I can set the active layout for a list control and click OK, my list style, and I can say use my layout too. So now what's going to happen is this. When this UX loads up on the device, so if it loads up like in your window on your desktop browser, it's going to evaluate this rule, and this rule is going to say, oh, you know what? This is not a mobile, or it doesn't meet the criteria, so I'm not going to perform this. But then when I load this UX up onto a mobile device, it goes, oh, wow, it is a mobile. I'm going to go ahead and execute this. And when I execute it, in this case, I'm just going to change the layout of that list from maybe a tab to a freeform. So now it looks good on that. And the cool thing is once you've set that, you don't have to worry about it. It's going to automatically happen. You don't have to build 2 UXs. You don't have to build one for the mobile, one for the desktop. And that's called responsive layout capabilities. And there's a lot of documentation about this. And one cool thing is there's a lot of actions. You can change panel layouts and navigators. You can update things in a list or a form view or even a control bar. You can, it's just the sky's the limit. And if worse comes to worse, you can write your own little JavaScript to be triggered when it's on that environment. And so this is really handy to be able to build one UX that works great anywhere you run it, whether it's on a desktop, on a tablet, on a phone, you name it, you can do it. and thus the person gets the best experience available without having to create 3 or 4 versions of your system to run on these different environments. So play with that. And the heart of it is what's called the responsive layout settings. There's some great documentation online on showing how to use this, but check it out and you'll find that you can now create really powerful solutions that are very dynamic, very easy with, and less work for you over time with maintenance. So thanks for that question. That was a great question, kind of provoked that. So be handy.
Cool, excellent. Okay, so switching gears a little bit, but staying with lists. A person has got a list with a sort of a parent-child list relationship that they have set up. And they were wondering, would it be possible to create a single search field that could find something regardless of whether it's in the parent or in the child?
Ooh, good question.
Should I ask you one that's going to stump you, and we're going to show it off?
Well, let's see where are we at here. Okay. Okay. Let me go ahead and let's have some fun, and we'll see how fast I can build a list with parent-child. Dun 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 dun. Okay. Let's see. Beat the clock. List parent. I'm going to say customers since I know I have a customers in there. And actually, if I could type, I might be able to even shave some time off this here. There it is. So Northwind, table, customers, field list, we'll grab, dun, dun, dun. I actually select them all. By the way, this is a new feature. I love that. Used to be you had to check all these things. Now you don't. You can just click select all. One of my favorites. And then I'll go ahead and we'll leave it as it is there. Okay. So I've got a parent. So you'll see there, I'm going to now create a new list, and I'm going to go list orders, quick control, connection string, go there, table name, orders, field list. We'll go ahead and select them all. And let's say it has a parent list, which is there. And the parent list is list customers. The list parent ID is customer ID, and the one in here is customer ID. So basically, I created my original list, and then using my quick start, I created my second list, but I automatically told it has a parent. So now I have a parent. Oh, I know what happened. I need to go into my list of orders. I think it's going to tell me I need to make one quick adjustment. Oh, wait, the parent list ID for this is not? Let's go here. I guess I was going a little too fast. I corrupted something by going too fast. Oh man, I'm so sorry. Let me grab another. Let's see, let me just grab another one that has a list. Shoot, did I screw that up? I'm so sorry, everybody. Oh, I know, it's just somehow, let's see, variable name. I was just moving a little too fast. Okay. Yeah, I screwed something up in this. I apologize there. List of customers. Yeah, I don't know why that didn't like that. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and move along because I want to go ahead and go to my list here. So I'm going to go up here and I want to go ahead and I'm going to put a text box here. Oops, not a container, a text box. Okay, and I'll go filter. And I'm going to create a button here. And I wanted to show everybody here, button here. So I've got a filter and a button. So I'm going to go into that button and I'm going to add some action JavaScript. And I want to do a list control action. And what I want to do is the action I would like to take is I can filter this. Now, there is 2 types of filters, client side and server side. It depends. If you're going to need to use this offline, use client side. If you're on the server side is fine. So I click here, I give it the list ID, list style, and then the filter expression. If I want to use arguments, I can do that within there. And in fact, let me go ahead and do that. I'll go ahead and create my argument. Or wait, no, you know what? I'll do it simpler. Client side is super simple because it just does a switch there. And search field is filter. So I'm going to do client side because I have to do less things. Basically, when you click this, it basically takes this and searches my list style. Okay, so now we've got that. Let me go ahead and do working preview here. So I'm going to put my filter in here. I'm going to type in Alfred's. I'm going to click button, and it shouldn't client. Oh, yeah, did I do that button right? Oh, what happened? Sorry, I'm moving way too fast, but I want to get this done before the end of our session here. So list control actions, and we're going to do a client side filter, and we're going to do list style by filter. There we go. And we'll do a working preview here. Okay, let's go ahead and clear that out, click button. So as you can see, it's lightning fast. Let's look for a round and click button. Now, if I have a second list on here, a parent-child list, there's no reason I couldn't just come in here and add a second command to do the exact same thing. In fact, I can go ahead and view this JavaScript right here, copy this, and just duplicate. I can go right here and say, okay, in fact, I don't need this. I can go in here and I can say, for instance, put in list style 2 if that existed, and then I can do a filter client side. And what it's going to do is it's going to filter the parent and the child at the same exact moment. So that's a quick and dirty way for you to search multiple list controls at the same time within it. Now, the question becomes, well, I've already filtered it by maybe selecting a parent and I want to search the list. I'd have to understand the requirements a little bit more. But what you can do is you can use these built-in action JavaScript, kind of look at how they're done, and create your own combined search methodology by using the same kind of, by just copying, pasting, changing which control you're doing these commands, filter, list, client side. And if you do it server side, you'll see there's an equivalent set of commands to do that. There's a more control over the server side because, for instance, you can set arguments and then pass those arguments to the search criteria. Whereas this is kind of a keyword search where basically we're saying just get the value that's in this filter and just do a filter and search for anything in the list that matches that. And it's super fast because it's client side, so you don't have to be connected to the server, and it's super fast. There are, just to show you, and I want to show you this, there are more powerful capabilities. And let me go ahead and add, let's go ahead, add a new action. I wanted to kind of just show you, so we'll close this out. There's also a method in here, right here, called filter list, that's client side, set filter. Okay, so there's something called listObject.setFilter. And let me copy this here and paste this code here. And this is super powerful. Basically, this is a little piece of JavaScript that allows you to say, for instance, okay, so let me go up to the top and I'll show you an example of this. And again, for people who are not code oriented, bear with us. We get a pointer to my list. In this case, I would get a pointer to my list. Then you can, on that list, you can set a filter saying, for instance, look for first name, look for this information here. And then you can, and I know it looks a little confusing because of the way they've structured it here, the example code. Once you play with it, you'll be able to understand what it looks like and be able to adjust it. And then when you want to clear the filter, you just say set filter false. But this allows you to do very fine-grained filtering. I can say grab list object, then set the filter on this column to be this value. And this is hard-coded right here, but I could have picked that up from somewhere on the user interface. So check that out. It's called the set filter function. And therein you can write your own little piece of JavaScript that will do incredible filtering. And that filter can take place on any list that happens to be within your UX. And this is all client side, so it's super hyper fast in terms of how it works. But definitely check out the set filter function. It's more extensive, it's more capable. There's some great documentation on it online, and you'll find you can pretty much do anything you want on there. You'll just have to get it. What this is doing, just to let you know, is this is called regular expression. So this little command lets you do things like, adjust how it's going to actually search that list. And, you're saying what column and what expression here. Play with it a little bit. You'll get there's some good examples in the documentation, and you can obviously copy some of these examples and just play with them within your application and your testing.
That is fantastic. Thanks very much, Dion. We have run out of time, but I want to let everyone know next week we have a super duper special session. We have Selwyn Ravens, who many of you know leads development here and who's our co-founder, will be presenting the Wednesday webinar to show off some of the features that Dion showed off and some of the other new features that came out in the latest version, so you won't want to miss next Wednesday. Also, we weren't able to get to all of the questions today. In particular,
We
there
are
was a
sorry.
cool one on grid breaks, on how to do counts and totals and things like that using grid breaks. We will definitely cover that the next time Dion is back. So thanks everyone for showing up. Thanks very much for asking questions. Thanks, Dion, for presenting. And we're looking forward to seeing you next Wednesday. Take care and goodbye.